Hello, I'd like to discuss the notion of creating rollovers in JavaScript. Just as a precursor to this little video, I'd like to let you know I've got a really nasty cold and having problems keeping my head on track because it's all filled with cotton. So if I go coughing and hacking and use bad terms or whatever, please forgive that, and hopefully this video will make sense to you. Okay, to begin with, I'm using a Macintosh computer, so my desktop's going to look a lot different than yours. Okay, if it's a Windows environment, obviously it will have its own particular look, especially if you've customized it or whatever. Certainly, though, we all have the same kind of deal in terms of directories and files and that kind of stuff. For example, I'm currently in a folder or a directory called rollover, and within that directory I have an images folder that's holding my 3 images that I'm really interested in, plus my index file that I've created, which happens to be sitting right over here. Okay, and I'm viewing the outcome of this particular file here in Firefox. So what exactly is happening here? Well, all I did was I created links to 3 different images so that I could display them all within the same paragraph. Okay, and then I created a second paragraph with links to the one image that I ultimately plan to make as a rollover. One thing that we need to consider, okay, I loaded these images obviously right off the bat. I have these 3 houses, and as far as a web browser is concerned, there is an image whose source is images, home, blah blah blah, sitting now native to the environment that's holding all the data having to do with this particular web page. Okay, that means that if I do any image swapping or changing around or whatever, it's going to appear instantaneous. However, if these 3 images weren't there, and I'll be faithful to save this, which I tend not to do, if they're not there, then if I had created a rollover image and I hover over this particular house so that I can see my rollover image, what could possibly happen is I would end up with a blank rectangle with a little X up in the corner indicating that an image should be shown there on browsers or on computer systems that happen to be hooked up to really slow internet connections, which completely defeats the whole feel of a rollover. So it probably would be really nice to go ahead and preload these images. One might argue, well, Dave, and that being the case, let's go ahead and just find a place out on the web page to load these images up and we'll be good to go. And actually that would work. It's just that now we have 3 stray images hanging out on our web page that we might not want to look at. Okay, so what do we do to make that happen? Well, we preload them with JavaScript. Okay, so let's begin first of all by popping in a script tag in the head within the head boundaries. Okay, so I'll tab on over script, and it's a type going to be text JavaScript, and that'll be good enough. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and close this tag right away. I find that if I fail to do that, I end up having open tags or stray tags all over the place in my code, and it kind of messes things up. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that the browser is capable of seeing images to begin with. Okay, so there's a little trick out there that people use. If document images, right now it's giving me syntax error nasty grams because I haven't completed writing all of this. Okay, I'm going to do some code, so I'm just going to make myself again open and close tags, make things a little convenient for me, or make things well organized rather, not necessarily convenient. Okay, and now what I want to do is go ahead and load the images. Some of you guys are saying, well, wait a minute, Dave, you talked about this web browser thing, but you didn't say anything beyond that. Well, here's what's happening here. Okay, if document images test to see if the web browser that we're using is capable of supporting images. If it is capable of supporting images, then it will execute this code down here. If it's not, there's no point in preloading images, okay? So that's what I want to do. Now I have 3 images that I'm working with, so I think what I'm going to do for namesake, to make things a little more convenient for me, is I'm going to stuff those 3 images in an array. And if you don't know what an array is, Google what arrays are and how they work, okay? So I begin first of all by declaring a variable, var, HOME test. Let's use an uppercase test, right? Home test image is equal to array elements. And I didn't bother to put the size of the array, okay? Sorry about that, okay? Now that I've declared a place for my array, let's go ahead and put some stuff into that array. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tab over. I'm going to say, well, home test image. Let's just double click here and copy that. Home test image 0, array element 0 is going to be equal to, and I want it to be basically equal to my new image. But in order to make that happen, I have to create a place to hold that image, okay? And this particular place that we're going to use is called an image object, okay? And it's going to reserve space and memory, and it's going to hold not only the image, but ways in which we can do things to that image, okay? So I'm going to go new, because we always use new when we're creating new objects, okay? And I'm going to say image because it's an image object. And I'm going to say that it is 50 pixels by 50 pixels. And now that I've done that, I'll go ahead and stuff my home image array position with the source of the image, except for I got to tell it the source, .src. Remember how I said it had, by creating the new image object that I had other cool things that were available to me? Well, one of those cool things is this whole source method, okay? So now I have the source, and I need to tell it where the source is. Images, or what the source is, right? 50 underscore 0 dot png. All right, so my first array element is now holding an image object, and within that image object is my source. Make sure that we close the quote on that. All right, well now I get to do 2 more array objects. So I'll just come over here very quickly and copy both of these things. Control C and do that twice. And I'm going to say that this one is 1, 1, and 2, 2. See how I speed things up? Now you can see where my naming convention becomes exceedingly handy, right? So let's just turn that to 1. And we turn that to 2. And now my array of images has been developed. The code for making that happen has been developed. Control save, come over here, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh and see if anything crashes. I'll stretch this out. I'm interested in what's happening right here with these check marks, and they're all green, so that's good. If you want to know about those check marks, you can go to web development for Java add-ons, or I'm sorry, for Firefox add-ons. Look under web development, and that'll give you all kinds of cool little tools that will help you develop your web pages. Okay, now, one of the things that kind of bothers me is I really don't like having JavaScript code sitting in my HTML pages. I like to have everything external to HTML. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and move all of this to an external file. I go through this exercise so that you guys know that it's possible to do that, and also know the procedure to make that happen. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'll go File, New, and I'm going to say JavaScript, and I'm going to create my new JavaScript file, and there it is. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of this right here, and I'll just go Control X, come over here, hit enter, and paste it in place, and then fix the indenting, okay, so that it looks nice. Put in a little note to myself, preload rollover images. Okay, so that's what that's there for. Now you'll notice that I didn't wrap this inside a function of any kind. And the reason that I didn't do that is because, number one, this stuff is happening right away. I want these images to be loaded the moment this page is loaded. Okay, so I want everything now. The other reason is this isn't something that I'm going to do time and time again. For example, if I was trying to figure out the age of an individual based upon their birth date, I might want to create a function that looks at today's date and then subtracts the day they were born and calculates, or it calculates the interval between the two and returns the date. So I would want to use a function. This philosophy, though, isn't one of those kinds of deals that's absolutely in granite. There are a lot of coders that I know that are out there that are writing JavaScript that prefer to put this in a function, in which case you'll actually have to call it after you've loaded it into your page, which we'll look at to some degree if I remember to do that. Okay, so first of all, let's go ahead and save this thing. File, save. And it wants to know the name. Okay, well, I don't know where it's going. It's looking off in La La Land somewhere, so let's go to debroder, and let's just make sure that I'm in the right space. Okay, when it comes to saving this thing, pull this down here so you can see what I'm doing. I have under students, I have solutions, and then there's my directory I'm looking for. Okay, yeah. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and create a folder right here, new folder called JS. Create the folder. This folder is going to hold all my JavaScript. And then the name of this thing is just going to be preload. Preload image. Okay? And right now I'm going to double click that. Actually, just grab the whole name and copy it, because I know I'm going to need it later. Okay? So let's save that. Now that I've done it, I can come over here to my HTML, and up here I'll go source src is equal to 2 quotes and pop that in there, but we want to make sure that we're including the JavaScript directory, right? So there it is. In my particular development environment, Dreamweaver, when this succeeds, the moment I do, the moment that it does succeed, we're going to take a look at the heading up here. If I go ahead and say Control Save, no errors, eventually somewhere in all of this, there we go. When I go to source code, it now says source code and then preload image. So it's letting me know that it actually succeeded in loading up the JavaScript file. And now I can just simply switch back and forth and look at them if I need to. Okay, so I know that it's loading the files. How do I know that? Well, it's more intuitive than anything else because there's nothing there that gives us a clue. Okay. Now that I set everything up for preloading the files, one thing that I did want to say is that if you did elect to put the preload within its own function, then immediately after you do the script tag thing right here, you have to put in another script tag that calls the function. Okay, so we'll leave that the way it is right now, and to keep the video from becoming too long, I'll go ahead and quit here and then start up another video. Okay.